Welcome back. We are now live with the GTM games, go-to-market games, hype cycle, vowelless, and ready to talk about operations, sales, and marketing and the confluence of these incredible topics. What a vast array of talent today. And in a true Hunger Games theme, we're going to go straight to Steve Richard. If you want to know who they all are, go to hypecycle.com. Talented marketers today. Some you may recognize, some up and coming talent. It's a diverse array of marketers who are about to learn the lost art of cold calling from Steve Richard. In my view, is a modern master. I believe he has over 10,000 hours, could even be 20,000 hours. Steve, to you, kick us off and tell us why should marketers be practicing cold calling?
Awesome, Jay. Thanks for kicking it over. Well, I'll tell you what, the first thing is I have seen marketers, I've met marketers, the mythical folks, and there are some of them here today who actually know how to pick up the phone and call their own leads. And I'll just tell you a funny story. Tyler's like, not me. But I'll tell you a funny story that happened the other day. I was delivering a sales training program in conjunction with one of our exec vision software customers. And a marketer, I made a cold call in the training and on my cell phone on Zoom. Everyone was watching. And when it was over, the marketer said, that was the scariest thing I've ever experienced in my life. And I don't think that he was kidding. He wasn't kidding at all. And the irony is I was calling his lead and I did end up getting an appointment with a CEO. So it doesn't have to be that way, because I'll be honest, on the flip side, as a salesperson, the scariest thing that I could maybe do is try to do a demand generation campaign with LinkedIn, ads or Google AdWords or something like that. I would be lost in space and just burning company money left and right and having people yelling at me, you spent $10,000 on ad because you didn't click that button. I'm like, oh, I don't know, I messed up. So let's go to the lesson. Cold calls are like snowflakes. No two are the same. All right. And I'm going to give you the elements of the cold call and kind of explain what we mean by that. The lead in, inevitably the first 20 seconds is going to be the most awkward part of the call because the buyer lacks, and let me ask you if any of you know this, it's the C word. When someone calls you out of the blue and you're not expecting the call, what do you lack?
Context.
Yes, Robyn nailed it audibly first, but Tyler mouthed it. So I don't know, they both win there. But context. So if you think about that, you lack context. Now, here's the other kind of lesson. Inherently, a cold call, I'm going to use a Shakespearean term, is because if you lack context, you don't know how you're supposed to respond. You don't know what the topic is. You know nothing, right? So as a buyer, if you lack context and someone's calling you, what does the person calling you have to initially do?
Introduce themselves.
Of course. And keep going. What are they trying to get? What are they trying to get me to do as the buyer?
Sell the meeting.
There you go. Sell the meeting. And in order to sell the meeting, does it usually work well where they just like talk at me the entire time and then I take the meeting? So what has to happen?
Listen. You need to listen.
And in order to listen, Andy, what has to happen before that?
You need to ask them some questions.
There you go. And this is the rub, because when you're in the bottom of if you're on a scheduled meeting, although Dan, when he goes, has a very interesting riff on this, and I want you to do exactly what we talked about. But either way, when there's a scheduled interaction, both parties have context. So therefore, when there are questions, for the most part, people will answer the questions. You've earned the right to ask questions. Really, the nature of a cold call is such that I need to earn the right to create a dialogue. Initially, this is a Shakespearean term. Initially, cold calls start as monologues. Why? They have to. I mean, by definition, they have to. If the person has no context, if I call and say, hey, Andy, what's your biggest challenge with blank? I'd be like, huh? It's like going up to the girl at the bar and saying, do you want to go out with me? She's like, who are you? I don't even know who you are. It's crazy. So all the things you see here about how do I create a little bit of context, opening the call in an interesting way. 3x3 research means pre-call research, finding 3 things on the company or contact in 3 minutes. Customer voice and common challenges is don't talk about the solution because these people are not yet buying. Instead, talk about the challenges, the trends, the topics, the things. And the reason this says customer voice is the the voice of your customers, their peers. They care about their peers. They don't care about your product yet. Outcomes are certainly in that category, right? And that's how you earn the right to ask probing questions. In a perfect world, it kind of goes around the horn like that, but inevitably, you're going to get a curveball, and you have to be prepared to respond to the curveball. How do you do that? Well, now I might have to go into objection handling mode, or they might say something and I want to demonstrate active listening. And let me actually ask you this as a bunch of marketers. What's the best way to show someone you listened to them?
Give them a meaningful answer to.
Well, that's true. That's true. Go ahead. That's good.
I'd say mirror the response.
Things.
Paraphrase and restate what they said back to them again. So science shows active listening is actually less about what you don't say. It's not that you go, oh, they actively listen. No, it's the fact that you repeat and paraphrase back and then maybe ask a clarification question, which makes sense in the context of the conversation. See what I mean? But what's always in the center of the snowflake?
Them, the prospect.
Right. And what are we trying to get them to do?
Commit to that next call, that next meeting.
That's right. Now, in the case of Dan, he said this before. He said, well, we don't schedule meetings like that. That's not how we roll. We're going to usually invite them to be a guest on a podcast. That is fine. That's another form of offer, which I want you to see this as well. And there are lots of different offers. Now, marketers inherently understand this. Some people call these account-based marketing plays, or there's all different terms for this. But, and Dan, I even added as part of that, be a guest on a podcast. I'll tell you what, there's a guy named Fred Diamond who did a heck of a job. He had this thing called the Institute for Excellence in Sales in the DC area. He'd bring all the sales leaders in the DC area to these events at the USA Today building. He struggled to get attendance. He started a podcast. He went to people that wouldn't attend the meetings and he invited them to be a guest on his podcast. Changed everything for him, because now all of a sudden the value that is being provided is greater than the time. And this is an important thing to understand in these seesaws. We're not selling when we cold call. So we're not selling the solution versus the price or the hassle of change. It's not buying and selling yet. Instead, what are we doing? We're trying to get the next verifiable buyer behavior. And I'll quote the unfortunately late, great Jim Ninavaji from Serious Decisions, who taught me about observable and verifiable buyer behavior. Again, something that marketers inherently understand that, like, did they do the action or not? Make sense? I'm going to play a call, and this will hopefully demonstrate a little bit. Actually, I lied to you. I'm going to play two calls for you. The first one's very short. And this will demonstrate some of these things, and we'll break down these calls, and then we're going to go to our role play. All right, real quick. Boom. Get ready for this one. Marketers, buckle up.
Housing, Craig. Hi, Craig. It's Steve Richard from .com. How are you? Fine, thanks. Good. Can you hear me okay? You're very faint. I can. Okay, great. Do you have a quick second? For .com, no, I don't. But thanks. Why do you feel that way?
Good old-fashioned hang up. All right. I love the good old-fashioned hang up, because here's why. In my mind, when this happened, I said, damn it, I have the best pre-call research for this guy, and I didn't get a chance to use it. Here's the story behind this. This was originally a customer of a company called RentPath. They have apartments.com, stuff like that in Atlanta. This was like their white whale. This guy was a customer, and he dropped, and they were trying to get him back because he was just perfect within the ICP. And little did I know this at the time, but prior to doing a training with them, they said, here's, we always do live calls, and here's a list. And that was one where they said, no one's been able to break through. So what do most of your marketers do if that happens to you? Nobody even really knows. So this happens in sales all the time. All right. Almost all the time, people call back and say, oh, I think we got disconnected, which for this persona, apartment slumlord owner, hundreds of units in Iowa, that's not going to work. So here's what I did.
Housing. Craig, it's Steve. I apologize. I know you hung up on me. I'm not stupid, but I feel like we did something to deserve that. And I don't know what it is. I did some research on you.
I dealt with .com before, and
what happened?
Charging 1 month for the advertising fee for rent was just a ridiculous price compared to other forms of media.
Got it. So basically, it was a bad return on investment for you.
Correct.
Okay. So how long ago was that?
Well, it's been a couple of years.
A few years ago?
Back when you guys were first starting out.
Okay, when we were first starting out. I don't know if you knew this. There have been a whole bunch of changes. Frankly, sometimes I get that from property owners like you and landlords like you. There have been a whole bunch of changes in our organization. I know you've got literally hundreds of homes there in Big Rapids. I watched your video, and I was wondering if you might reconsider just having a quick chat with us on what's changed since then. You know, if there's no opportunity to win back your business, I respect that. If there is,
go ahead, Steve. You're bold enough to call back and polite enough to do so. So I'm willing to hear you. Go ahead.
Got it. And apparently, when they played that in the classroom, I wasn't there. People actually stood up and applauded, which was kind of fun to hear about later on. So going back to the snowflake, and now we're going to do the games. How do we map this out? Thinking hearts, spades, clubs. I did my call opening. I got hung up on. I called back. I said, we must have done something to deserve that. And I said, what happened? What happened? That question is an example of what is listed here.
I want to thank Steve Richard. That beautiful platform you just saw is called Exec Vision. Just a little shameless plug. And I want to plug some amazing other go-to-market stack vendors for one moment, and then we'll get into it. Outreach, SalesLoft, ConnectAndSell, PandaDoc, Chili Piper, leadiQ, SalesFeed, Chat Metrics, Syncari, Slintel, Outplay, Sapper Consulting, Vidyard, Lob, Wingman, Conversational Intelligence for High Growth Teams, and Seamless.AI. And yeah, we're calling it the go-to-market tech stack. I got to thank Steve Richard. He's been hugely influential, and we really appreciate your support. Thank you to all the brave marketers on this call. Remember, these are just drills. Your prospect is Steve, and this is about coaching and training. So you might get some.
First?
Yeah, who wants to go first? Who wants to be a millionaire?
Sure, why not? Let's do it.
Okay, Arthur, what do you sell? Who do you sell to? Or what do you market? Who do you market to?
Yeah, I am a field marketer here at Chili Piper. We are, I think it's
I know what it is.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay, good. So I did what as how did you generate me as a lead? Of course, I'm not a hot lead. I'm going to be more of a, what happened?
Yeah, I guess I don't know. You attended one of our webinars or something like that.
Done. All right, I'm sitting around here doing my own thing.
All right, we just go in for the
and you say ring, ring, ring.
2 minutes on the clock.
All right, ring, ring, ring.
Yeah, hi, this is Steve.
Hey, Steve, this is Arthur from Chili Piper. I know I called you out of the blue here. You got a couple minutes to chat?
Real quick, what's this about?
Yeah, it's about. I actually noticed you attended a webinar here on speed to lead. I wanted to ask you, Steve, out of all the webinars you could possibly attend, what made you want to hop on this one?
Oh, I don't remember that exactly. Yeah, I mean, doesn't ring a bell, but that doesn't mean much. What do you guys do?
Yeah, you know what? To give you a little bit of context, I'm actually on your website right now, and I see the demo request button here. You know, typically request a demo, maybe it takes it a thank you page. It takes a while for somebody to get in touch with that hot prospect lead, right? And I'll tell you a little dirty secret, Steve. Most of the requested demo actually never even make it into the sales pipeline. About 70 to 85% of those requested demo leads never make it to your pipeline. Do you have an idea of what your funnel looks like, and if you're converting those demo requests?
Yeah. Wait, what was your name again?
Yeah, this is Arthur with Chili Piper.
Yeah, no, Arthur, that's definitely something that is a topic that's of interest, because we do have a sense that right now we're probably not capturing as much of the web traffic as we need to get them converted.
Yeah, we hear that all the time. Yeah, I was gonna mention that to Steve. We hear that all the time. You know what? I know I called you out of the blue. I wanted to make it quick here, but sounds like there's some interest on your side. Why don't do you have your calendar up in front of you?
That was really good.
Is that it? Is that the end of the competition? Are we done?
Woo! All right. Let's break. I'm
where's my chili
I'm the
pepper
coach,
hat?
so I get to give the feedback. But I'm going to give the feedback in the context of this, the Snowflake page. Okay. So initially when he calls, when he called, he did his opening. Okay. And then from there, did what? Probing questions about the webinar. But what you don't realize, marketers, is the way I responded to that is the way that your SDRs and BDRs get almost every time. So what you did a really good job of there, Arthur, is rather than going down the webinar rabbit hole, instead you went and said, I'm looking at your website right now, and I see this requested demo. And one of the things we hear, customer voice and common challenges, people really struggle with the conversion on that, where a lot of those never actually ultimately convert. You hit me with that perfectly. And then you asked me another probing question about something that was really relevant to me at the moment. And I was in. Then you did a little bit of active listening, a little bit of clarification questions. It was all kind of objection handling, but then the thing that was great too is you went right back and closed me for the time. Good job.
No pressure. On to the next.
Arthur, well done. Well done. Who's up?
I'll go next. That's all right.
And Andy, what are you selling? Who are you selling to?
So I've, as Tyler mentioned earlier, I'm currently selling myself. So
You're not a gigolo, are you?
Not just yet. We'll see how it goes with the other side of things. So
all right. Maybe I can't say that anymore. I don't know, but I'm old. I can get away with it.
That's
okay,
fine.
so that's just, are you selling consulting services?
So I'm selling consultancy services. I don't like being called a consultant because consultants typically come in and don't give you much actionable stuff that you can actually.
Got it. And what's a typical customer for you that would be good, a client?
So C-levels, it's sort of anyone that's up around Series A that's looking for like help building their marketing teams, really.
Got it. Series A company, they need help building a marketing team.
Yeah.
I know that persona because that was me. Let's do it.
And you've come in. I've actually come across your company that are looking for somebody senior to hire in marketing, so VP or CMO level.
We had that happen about 2 years ago. That's perfect.
All right.
Okay. Just ring me. Ring.
Ring.
Yeah. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve. How's it going? This is Andy Culligan calling here.
Hey, Andy. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good. Hey, look, I've come across you guys. I've seen that you guys are looking for a CMO at the moment. I'm not a recruiter, by the way.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we are. You're right. Yeah.
So I see, and I also have been looking on LinkedIn, and I see that you guys probably have about 3 people in the marketing team right now. Is that correct?
That's right. We got a demand gen, product marketer, and social media. That's right.
Okay. If I have a moment, I'm sorry I haven't given you a huge amount of context here. I myself have been a CMO up until a couple of months ago, and I'm currently working with sort of Series A companies to help them build their marketing efforts, right? So if I see a company in the tech space that only have about 3 people on the team, on the marketing team, they're looking for somebody senior to hire, it rings alarm bells for me. And can I tell you why it rings alarm bells for me, Steve?
Yeah, it sounds like you're not a recruiter, so I'm still talking to you. Yep.
Good. No, I feel as though that hiring somebody senior at that level is just a little bit too soon, to be honest. And I think, like, from my own experience, what will happen is you probably need somebody that's able to give you a bit of direction, bit of strategy, help execute as well, pull up their sleeves and get going. And I feel by hiring a CMO or a full-time VP to come in and do that, I think it's maybe not the right decision right now. Right.
So I mean, the reason, Andy, I appreciate that that we're on this path is, we raise money through our venture capital firm, and they basically said you have to build out your senior leadership team. So you go right to a CMO.
Sure, I fully understand that. I appreciate that, and I've actually been in that position twice myself already. However, what I would say is, the companies that I'm currently working with, I'm doing sort of 3 to 6 month stints with them. I'm sitting down with their current leadership and also helping them structure out a position for that CMO or VP marketing position. So to help the current team execute and move in the right direction with what they're currently working on, bring a bit of my expertise, which is around ABM and aligning sales and marketing efforts and getting things chugging along. Typically, if you receive money, your VC team will want you to return that, to get their return on investment as soon as possible. Yeah. With that, you're going to have to align sales and marketing efforts. A lot of companies don't have that. And that's where I step in, help the sales and marketing alignment at the beginning, and then also help you guys place the right person then later on when the time comes about.
So you're kind of like a stepping stone to that.
I'm basically a stepping stone. Yeah. And, people ask me, hey, are you a consultant? And I typically say no, because having been in a CMO position myself and a VP marketing position myself, when people came to me and say, hey, I can offer consultancy packages, I was like, okay, you're just going to be very detached from the business. It's going to be somebody who's going to be giving me some advice rather than come in and actually help execute. I do the opposite to that. I'm the person that comes in, helps the team execute and get things moving. So yeah, like I just be one thing that I can offer you is I can take a look under the dashboard, see what's happening underneath the engine, and give you a bit of help there, completely free of charge. What do you say?
All right, you got me. I'll take you up on that. I want you to set expectations here. That might not have come of anything, but if you're willing to offer some time, we certainly will take you up on it. Marketing. We're not marketing people. We're a bunch of sales guys. So
sure, no strings attached at all. And as you said, like you guys are looking for somebody in that position. If I can come in and at least shed some light on some things,
done.
Good.
Done.
Good.
Gang. I mean, quite good. Quite good. I mean, what did you do well? You, again, brought it back by knowing something about me and my business and why you're calling. You knew about other people and what they've dealt with. The only real feedback I'd give you, you is to try to ask a little bit more. If you earn the right to ask a question or two, I would ask a bigger question or two, especially when I'm down the path of that VC, I'd start asking questions like, well, what makes you think a CMO is the right move for you right now? Or another thing I'd like to hear you do is tell a story. Boy, you remind me a lot of this company who dealt with blank and they hired a CMO and it was a mistake and here's why. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And then ask me a question about that pain point, do a little active listening. The thing I love that you did at the end is you went to the offer. So rather than just saying, let's schedule some time, I was going to object to that, by the way. But instead of that, you said, I will do a complimentary assessment, or what was the term you used?
I said, take a look at your dashboard.
Yeah. And I said, hey, if you mean that, I'll do it. One thing I'd like, and I didn't teach you this yet, but one thing I'd like to see you do at that point is what we call overtime questions. And this is asking questions after you've booked the appointment or got the buyer for the commitment that you're looking for. In order to make best use of your time, you might have to ask you a few questions. And then the 4 flavors are, who else would you like to have involved, or who would feel left out? What's been your biggest challenge with trying to hire so far within your marketing team? Why are you even hiring at all? Qualification, if you have to ask any kind of qualifying, like do you guys use Marketo? Do you use whatever? And then get my mobile number. So, but again, I didn't teach you that, so you did a heck of a job. Let's go to the next one.
Thanks for going so deep, Steve. This is awesome. We're getting some great YouTube comments. Someone said it's better than the Olympics, but I know attendance is down this year.
Yeah, the ratings are down. Yeah.
We're going to see Steve Richard do some street luging next. Maybe Tyler Lessard wants to do Canadian street luge. Is it hilly enough? Yeah, you're in Vancouver or Ontario? Yeah, Vancouver has big hills. Who wants to go next?
Robyn, Samantha?
I'll go.
All right.
Right.
Hey, I'm running my own business. This time I'm going to be on my cell phone.
So I'm calling you because you downloaded our ebook, Cold Call, Cold Emails. We already started? I thought I was giving you context.
No, give me the context. Sorry. Yeah. So what company are you working with, Robyn?
I'm at Predictable Revenue.
Got it. Of course, Aaron Ross, many generations later, right? Is it still Aaron's?
Yeah.
Yep.
We are a sales development training firm. We have coaching and consulting options as well as outsourced SDR pods.
Got it. I've tracked that along the way. And you're typically selling to who?
We are right now focusing on B2B tech companies, selling to VPs of sales or business development.
And how long are their development series? A, B, C, private equity back, blah, blah, blah.
We do not discriminate on funding.
Okay. And is there a certain size of team they have or anything like that?
They are starting to scale their sales development team, so they may have only 1 or 2 SDRs, or they're starting to hire SDRs.
Again, I know this very well. Let's do it.
Ring, ring.
Yeah, hi, this is Steve.
Hi, Steve. It's Robyn. I'm calling from Predictable Revenue. Do you have a quick moment to chat?
I do, real quick, but you know what? Predictable Revenue, I read that book.
Oh, that's awesome. We have so many people that read the book. I noticed that you also downloaded one of our ebooks around cold calls and cold emails. So that's the reason why I'm calling you. Okay. I wanted to understand what your role in the sales development function at your firm is.
Well, I'm the VP of sales, so I deliver the number, but, we've got 3 SDRs right now. They're honestly very poorly looked after because I'm so busy closing deals, and, I haven't done a great job with them outside me.
Oh, that's interesting. I was on your LinkedIn and I noticed that Exec Vision has only a few SDRs. So I was calling because I'm setting up some meetings with amazing account executives, and I wanted to offer you a chance to kind of dive into some of our outbound lab sales experiments. So I was wondering if you could tell me what's one of your sales development pain points that keeps you up at night.
Our cadences suck. They're not working.
Okay.
I'm talking to some peers and some networking groups and stuff, but everyone's saying the same thing. It's just harder and harder to get anybody to commit to hear you out over email.
Interesting. Okay. So what I'd love to do is if we could book a meeting maybe later this week when you have some time, I'll pull some of our outbound lab sales experiment learning so that we could provide you with some free of charge experiments that you don't actually have to do yourself.
So Robyn, I know they kind of technically report to me, but we have a demand gen marketer, and I think that she's kind of day in and day out holding their hand a little bit more. I think maybe you want to talk to her. She's a manager of demand generation.
That would be amazing. Do you have her calendar, and maybe we can pick some time in her calendar, and then you can send an intro to us?
Her name is Samantha Hembree, and Hembree. Why don't you get in touch with her? She's probably better for this.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks. Very good, especially on the front end. We'll go to the back end of it. How do you think you did, Robyn? What'd you do well?
I think I asked some good probing questions.
You asked great probing questions. I'd like to hear a little bit more. So you did the common challenge. You did the whole people who are in your situation, but it wasn't as much as I'd like to see on that. Everyone's trying to fix a problem, accomplish a goal, avoid a risk. And I basically said, these are kind of like the lost children. And you're like, oh, well then, that's how we can, that's where we can help. But I'd like to see you come a little bit more. You did ask a good question about what's the biggest pain point. I'd like to see you follow it up with something else. Have you used any third parties for that? What does that look like? Anything like that? But you mostly got all that right. You did a really good job of all that. And there was one thing. What was the one thing?
I stuttered over my words.
No, that's not even it. So you don't stutter over your words at all. Not nearly half as bad as salespeople. A lot of salespeople. When I kicked you to the manager of demand generation, what did you do?
Yeah. Well, I tried to book the meeting on the call instead of jumping off.
Which was the right instinct. You just had to go a little bit further with it. What did you need to say to me?
Other than asking you to pull up a calendar and just book it.
I like that. That was great. And I'd say, I think it's better. And then this is where you need to have one more thing where you basically say in a very down-to-earth tone. And the key to this is the down-to-earth tone. Steve, I know how busy you are. I know you're closing deals. And I appreciate you sending me to Samantha in demand generation. At the same time, I'm also aware of the fact that if you're not on board with doing anything, probably nothing's going to happen. And respectfully, I've been trying to get in touch with you for a long time. While I have you, can we get time with you and Samantha at the same time? See what I mean? And then later on, so what I was testing you on is to see if I gave you the first objection, you came back. But I want to see if I went again, if you're going to come back again, because here it is. The reality is most salespeople have been taught, you're going to hear that 3 objections, you're going to try 3 times before you give up.
Okay. Thank you.
So just keep going and being a little bit more persistent than you were.
Great job. I feel like these marketers are doing a much better job than the sellers that I traditionally work with. I'm not going to name names. Names have been changed to protect the guilty. Who's next? We got to keep on the time schedule. This is a Hunger Game. Great job, Robyn.
Dan, talk to us.
I'll go. All right.
What do you sell? What do you sell
Can I
to?
just dive into it? I sell B2B podcasting services. I sell to B2B SaaS tech companies with 50 plus employees.
Let's do it.
Great. Ring, ring.
Yes. Hi, this is Steve.
Hi, Steve. This is Dan Sanchez. I host a podcast that interviews B2B marketers like yourself. And man, this is really hard to do live.
Culligan, take it again. It's all good.
Culligan.
Take two. Let's do it. No, that was actually good to start. Go ahead.
Ring, ring.
Yes. Hi, this is Steve.
Hi, Steve. This is Dan Sanchez. I host a podcast that interviews B2B marketers like yourself. And I'm currently doing a series on MarTech companies and what they're doing to accelerate the growth of their companies. Would you or anybody else on your team be interested in an interview?
So yeah, I mean, we are a MarTech company. We'll do some podcasts from time to time. Sometimes I'll do them. Sometimes other members of our team. But what is? Are you a company? Are you like a media company? What is the? Give me a little more.
Yep. So I run a podcast called B2B Growth. We get about 160,000 downloads per month. Each episode gets about 1,000 to 3,000 downloads within the first couple of days. For mostly B2B marketers, there's some sales reps in there and some usually CEOs of tech companies like yourself.
Yeah. What companies sign? Like what types of companies? How big are the companies that these people are coming from?
Certainly. The companies that we're usually interviewing are in-house B2B marketers.
Oh, no, I meant the
downloads.
I meant the downloads you're getting. Sorry there, Dan.
Certainly. So a lot of the downloads are coming from companies that are like yourself. So they're also you could say that they're your peers, or like other B2B marketers that are at the director or VP level of a lot of tech companies, though it covers broadly B2B, though I will say there's a larger segment of tech companies in the mix listening to the show.
Interesting. Okay. And you're just looking for someone to interview here?
Yep. Always looking to uncover the best practices for what tech companies specifically are doing to accelerate their growth in their companies.
Got it. Okay. So why don't you send me an email and we can circulate around and see who would be interested in being interviewed.
Awesome. Do you think you'd be a good fit for the show?
I don't know. Maybe in the email you can just send me some examples of the people who you interview, just so I can make sure it'd be the right person, but potentially.
Absolutely. Can I get an email so I could send you some examples and a scheduling link to get that pre-interview booked?
Sure. It's first initial S, Richard, RICHARD at execvision.io, like India Ocean.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'll be following up shortly.
All right. Thanks a lot. Very good. All right.
Very good.
So what did you do well? The offer in this place is very compelling. The reality is people like being invited to be interviewed for podcasts, although increasingly people are starting to figure out that that's a little bit of like the initial carrot on the stick to get you engaged. But you do a really good job of presenting the value and all that. The one thing I'd say for you, Dan, is the person who asks the questions controls the call. So what I would like to see you do at one point, because what I was going to try to do is kind of grill you to kingdom come with a whole bunch of questions, and eventually you shut it down. But what I'd like to see you do is reverse that, and that's the Sandler term of reverse, where you answer a question with a question, and where you say, typically in the past, what sort of podcasts have you been interviewed on? What's been helpful for you in trying to build awareness and build your brand and generate leads through that type of a medium? What have you done around podcasting in the past? And I know you're not trying to sell them on the idea of doing podcasting yet, but nevertheless, I'd like to see a little bit more of that kind of like engagement of questions there. But other than that, you did a great job.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome work. I don't know if Steve, you want to hide the slides while they go, if that matters procedurally for the visuals. Great job, everyone. I'm loving the snowflake. It's making me want to go to Big Bear, Mammoth, or go skiing or something.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize they couldn't see all of our faces. Okay.
No, I should have kept. I always feel like we're on Hollywood Squares here. Let's see. Do we want to go, north? Speaking about Canada, Tyler, are you ready?
No, but I have to do it.
We'll pass you. It's all good. Okay, Sam, take it away.
No, I'm good. Let's do it. I will never be ready for this. I am like.
What are you selling? Who are you selling to, Tyler?
Hey, Steve. I'm part of Vidyard here. We're like some others, video tech for sales leaders and sales teams. So, would you like to be an individual sales rep or a sales manager today, Steve?
What do you want me to be?
Why don't you be a sales manager?
Done. Sales manager.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. And the context is. Every sales rep's favorite, a booth lead from an event, from an in-person conference. Hot, right?
I love
So
the
hot.
booth. I love the booth leads. They're great. I'm going to go back to the landline phone just to mix it up. Okay,
Oh, beauty.
let's do it.
Ring, ring.
Yeah, hi, this is Steve.
Oh, hi, Steve. It's Tyler calling from Vidyard here. How you doing today?
Hey, Tyler, how are you?
Oh, I'm well, thanks. But the reason I'm calling is you met one of my colleagues at the Salesapalooza event last week in Vegas, and I'm curious what brought you to the event in the first place.
I just want to get the hell out of the house, Tyler.
Well, I can't blame you. I mean, Salesapalooza is so much more fun than our day-to-day as salespeople, and I can hopefully say that as a fellow sales rep. But is there something you were there looking for? Any reasons for heading to the event to find things maybe to help your own sales team out? Or
We're just always looking. That's a good question. Always, there wasn't anything in this particular case. Always looking to see what are people doing that's like emerging, cutting edge, interesting, different. Keep our finger on the pulse.
Yeah, no, that's great to be doing. I'm curious what some of the main challenges your team is facing. Do you do outbound prospecting as part of your team today?
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah. We all do. We all need to. Not all of us love it, but it is something that we're finding more and more teams are doing. And I'm curious if your team is being successful with it. Are you happy with their response rates?
Not great. We're okay. Not great. So we could certainly be doing better. But I got to tell you that the one thing that I'm very skeptical of is like using, because I've heard of Vidyard before. I get a sense for the general idea, but using it in the context of like a cold outbound, I just haven't seen any kind of A/B tests or anything that's shown the effectiveness of doing that.
Right.
But hey, look, I'm all ears.
Well, I've heard that from others, and there is actually some interesting reports out there that I will share with you following this call for your reference. But what's also interesting, Steve, is that we actually have a free version of the tool that I would be happy to help some of your reps get used to and try out so that we could see firsthand if they're able to see some success, but not just by dumping it on them and expecting them to use it, but I'm happy to give them a little coaching session to teach them on what the best practices are that we've seen from other sales teams that have been successful.
So you're talking like a trial?
It's actually a free version that they could continue using indefinitely if they saw success with it. Again, happy to help your team see some of that early success. And at the end of it, if they're are happy with the results that they're having, then we can talk about what else we can do. But right now, I just want to help them book 2 more meetings next week.
Take that meeting. Very good. Well done. Great job. I mean, the offer of the end of like, you're going to give me a free version of the product used in perpetuity. You're going to teach our team how to use it. And you're going to take that burden out of them. Because my objection immediately was going to be, look, Tyler, the last thing I need is another tool. Your SDRs are going to hear that all the time. We don't need another tool. We're drowning in technology. What we need is to get the business results, but you preempted that. Good work.
Good. Thank you.
Woohoo, I guess that leaves me.
Sam, where do you work?
Outreach. I'm a content marketing specialist. So newsletters, social media, podcasts.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay. And in this case, who am I? Who are you selling to?
Let's say a VP. You registered for one of our webinars about putting the human back in selling.
Okay. So I'm a quintessential VP of sales of what type of company?
A tech company, enterprise company.
Cool. All right, let's roll. I can do that all day.
Awesome. All right. Ring, ring.
Yeah. Hi, this is Steve.
Hi, Steve. This is Sam from Outreach. How are you doing today?
Hey, Sam from Outreach. Good. I got a call in a couple minutes. What's up?
Good. Okay. Well, I know I'm catching you out of the blue, so I will just cut right to the chase. I saw you registered for one of our webinars about putting the human back in selling. I'm thinking that you're trying to make your sellers more efficient, more effective, increasing their activities and seeing more opportunities. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, we can definitely help. And I just wanted to connect and see how outreach can bring value to your team, save your reps 1 to 2 hours per day of manual work, put that time back in their day and give you more visibility into what's working and what's not. Is that something you'd be interested in learning more about?
So Sam, it's interesting, but I got to tell you, we tried it. We did a trial of outreach a couple of years ago and it just didn't work culturally. and love your content, heard about the company, but I just don't know if it's for us.
I see. Yeah. Well, it sounds like that was a few years ago, you said, right?
Yes.
I'm thinking that, a lot of things have changed, and actually a lot of companies like yours, like DocuSign, Zoom, are actually using outreach to generate 30% more opportunities and increase their reps' activities by 3x. So I'm just wondering if maybe this is a time that you'd like to reevaluate.
Let's pause it right there. That's what I was testing to see if you were going to do that. You did. And she picked it up. Where did you pick that lineup from? I think I know.
Yeah. Who said it? I feel like I borrowed that.
It was on the call that I did before. A lot has changed with us. How long ago was that? A lot has changed with us. We call it the ex-significant other approach. And the whole running joke is like, if you're trying to get together with an ex-boyfriend or an ex-girlfriend, what do you not do? Don't talk about the past. What do you do? Talk about what's changed, and then say you want to get a cup of coffee. It works. So you nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. And I, with all due respect, I didn't think you were going to go there, and you did it. You nailed it. Well done. Really good job.
Amazing, everyone. I need to do a little housekeeping while we just pause and reflect. I'm going to read some sponsors and thank Outreach and SalesLoft, ConnectAndSell, PandaDoc, Chili Piper, leadiQ, SalesFeed, Chatmetrics, Syncari, Slintel, Outplay, Sapper Consulting, Vidyard, Lob, Wingman, Conversational Intelligence for Teams, and Seamless.AI. And we have still 20 minutes on this competition. So here's the exciting part. Steve now has the unenviable position to have to eliminate 2 players on the Hunger Games.
Oh, no. So, you didn't tell me I had to do that. I don't want to do that. 6.
Yep. You can eliminate me twice. That's already been done. So you can't can't eliminate the co-founders.
So I have to eliminate 2 people right now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but like across the board, it's like an A-. Like, I'm not kidding. I think I'd probably sign up every one of them to be SDRs tomorrow. And with a little bit of work, they would all be good if they were willing to put in the painful effort of the calls required to get that many people on the phone.
Yeah. Well, we got to get you to, go from that, Paula Abdul to unleash your Simon Cowell. But before we do, I want to ask you some edgy questions. Like, do you think people in general can, is e-learning possible to learn how to do calls? And, what's broken with it? It seems, you have a cold call library, like the Library of Alexandria, I think you have one of the deepest ones. Like, what's like a myth or, grab the third rail for me here.
I think the myth that can someone learn from a pure e-learning and then apply it in context and become successful basically in a vacuum? Is it possible? Yes. That's going to be an edge case. Those are going to be outliers. The reality of this job is that the fortitude you need to stick it through day in and day out and to get to a point where, like, if I get hung up on, I actually look at that. I smile and I look at that as a fun challenge, because now it's something a little bit different. You know what I mean? I've had some people go through our ranks over the years that they said, if I got someone on the phone, I expected to get the meeting, and they were batting at 40%. So they would get a prospect on the phone 40% of the time they're booking a meeting, So I don't think you can do that in an island. And I have a strong point of view on this one, which is, especially for the young professionals doing this job or anybody doing this job, lead follow-up, putting them in an office actually matters. It makes a difference. This is not just my opinion. I sold my business, Vorsight. It was an outsourced appointment setting business. When we had people working from home during the pandemic, the productivity dropped 35, 40, 50%. When they were back in the office, feeding off of each other's energy, having camaraderie, all that. And by the way, we told them, office is open. Here's all the protocols, all that kind of stuff. And you don't have to go. If you have a reason not to go, you don't have to go. Boom, pop right back up again. It was remarkable. You get a COVID scare, we'd have to shut it down for 2 weeks in the building, not in our place. Boom, productivity went back down. So I'm going to touch the third rail and say the idea of remote SDRs, BDRs, or any sales rep that has to prospect doesn't work consistently over a long period of time.
Interesting. Here's a side question. Who on this call, who's a marketer, is just ready, just so inspired today to just, switch roles and lives and become a seller? Who's ready to be an SDR? Anyone?
I wouldn't mind doing it for a season. I think it'd be really fun to do for a season.
So we got
and
one.
Just get back in the game and then get back into marketing with the learnings from it,
Well, I was going to ask this, how many of you or when's the last time you shadowed someone who's following up on your leads for a couple hours just to see what it looks like and hear what it sounds like?
Does chorus calls count? Like if you listen to their call?
Yeah. Exec vision calls, chorus calls, gong calls, all the same. Yeah, totally. And that makes a big difference, right?
I'm interested.
Part of our onboarding process. So I'm brand new at predictable revenue. I'm 2 months in. And for the first month, I watched calls of our AEs. So I got to learn the ins and outs of how they explain the company first and foremost.
Look at that. See, it's a new generation of marketers. I'll tell you one thing I would suggest. So doing it in an asynchronous way is great. There is something to be said for when you actually observe their workflow in real time too. Because when you hear the call, the actual conversation is the output of potentially, an hour of stuff they did leading to that conversation, which could include a lot of calls they make that weren't answered, or it could include like a lot of workflow challenges. Speaking of like an outreach, Sam, a lot of reps really struggle with the workflow of like using outreach plus the Salesforce and how to do what, where, when, why, how, and they get lost in space a little bit. So I think there's also something to be said for like understanding the workflow to really know the pain of the rep, or alternatively, inviting the reps to come see what you do in marketing and actually share your screen, talk them through it. Like, I don't think they have any idea most of the time.
Let me see if I have a brave volunteer. What's one thing you're going to do different in your marketing based off just this experience today? Because I know a lot of you prepped and there's a lot of pressure. Everyone was smooth. I want to give you all credit. You all came to the table with a scenario. Sam, props to learning on the fly, literally integrating scripts, learning during the competition. Does anyone have something, just anything they're going to do differently based on doing this under pressure? Tyler, go ahead.
So mine is actually how we work with our sales team, now having this extreme empathy. And one thing I noticed based on your feedback, Steve, was that idea of like, oh, that great offer at the end, we're able to give of a free app and something like that. It started to make me think about what other things could we create for our sales team to act as offers and CTAs in their cold calls that would get them a higher response rate. And because it's not always on them, right? If it's like, all I have to offer is a demo or something else, but if we can give them other things like a podcast that we could invite them to, or whatever it happens to be. So I'm going to think about that because it's really interesting to have a diversity of offers, and we can build those as marketing and then let the sales team test them on calls.
That's a really good takeaway. Let me give you just a quick story on that. One of our customers that will be unnamed, they give away as one of the offers, Roomba vacuum cleaners. So they use conversation intelligence, they use exec vision to measure whether or not the salespeople were leveraging that offer. And it actually turns out that they weren't. There was only one member of like a 40-person sales team that was, and her numbers were the highest. So I love that you said, build their toolkit and their arsenal of offers. And then the next step is, are they actually using the offers? And if they're using the offers, are they working or are they not? And the only way to be able to do that is to, go through all the way through with the conversation intelligence part. It's a good one.
Now,
who else? Yeah. What else?
Ooh, I have actually a different way to take this. We have 10 minutes left and I'm going to throw a huge curveball that no one's ready for. So I didn't prepare for this, but we're going to have Steve make a call. And someone's going to be the prospect.
Let me call one of your.
We're going to flip the camera.
No.
Does anyone want Steve to actually call a real prospect right now? Who's got one?
Yeah. That's more fun.
And Steve, if you just want to role play, that's cool too. I wasn't even going to go that far because I didn't want to this is like, Oprah Winfrey having you run over the hot coals, or Tony Robbins, I think, had Oprah running the coals. Yeah. Who has a lead? Tyler's got to have a lead. I know Tyler just has a basket of leads. Anyone have a lead? Arthur. It's live TV, folks.
Or I can play a recording of the one that I did the other day where the marketer was like, that's the scariest thing I've ever heard. One or the other.
If you can, it would also be cool to role play one and just have someone play the prospect and hear your approach. So who wants to be Steve's prospect right now? And I want to go hard mode, like be tough on Steve, because this is a 3rd degree black belt.
Let's do that. Yeah.
This is more fun. Okay. And I'll put 5 minutes on the clock. Who wants to be a tough customer?
I can do it. I'll do it.
Okay, hey, Steve, why don't you pitch Andy on Chili Piper as your product?
Oh, on Chili Piper. That's good. Let me think about that for a second. See, I'm probably going to use the same approach he just used. Okay, ready? I'm going to go off camera so we can cut off nonverbal communication. By the way, that's another important thing when you're role playing. You can't get nonverbal communication. It's not allowed. So, all right, you should be able to hear me though, because I got my Yeti. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah. We can't see you now though.
Yeah, I know, but that's intentional. That's by design. All
Okay.
right. I'm calling you Andy. Ring, ring, ring.
Hi, Andy Culligan speaking.
Yeah, hi Andy. Steve Richard from Vidyard. How you doing?
Yeah, hi Steve. How's it going? I'm doing pretty well. Only got a couple of minutes. What can I do for you?
Well, Andy, my understanding is you're VP of Customer Success there for ABC. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, great. And you know, actually, the reason I was calling, do you know Justin Michael? I saw on LinkedIn you and I are connected by way of Justin.
Yeah, I think I've heard of him. Yeah, I mean, I've got quite a few people connecting on LinkedIn. So
yeah, understand. Well, look, congratulations on that award in CSM magazine. What you've done with your customer success team is pretty remarkable. And that's actually why I'm calling. You know, I find that the real bleeding edge, cutting edge people like you are starting to look at video as an alternative communication channel with customers to drive up engagement, decrease churn, get more upsells, cross sells. You've been looking at video at all? Have you done much in the way of asynchronous video there yet?
We've tried, we've put our foot in the water a little bit, but haven't really gotten into it. It's like we've seen some success, but not much, to be honest with you. And the team are pushing back against it. And honestly, like we're pretty happy with how we're currently pushing forward. I mean, we're hitting targets, things are going well. As you said, like we're pretty much at the cutting edge as we feel here at the moment. So taking more tech on at the moment just feels like it's not the right way.
No, I hear you for sure. And what happened with that? How come it didn't take root?
It's just, honestly, the teams just didn't accept it, to be honest. We've got quite a few different technologies the teams are using at the moment. It's a little bit disjointed, actually. But, you know, and adding an additional piece of tech onto what the guys are already currently using is just that one step a bit too far. Mm-hmm. As I said, like we're doing pretty well in terms of hitting targets. We're actually above quota at the moment. Teams are performing pretty well, and it just feels like adding more technology onto the top of the pile, as I said, is just, you know, it seems to be just not going in the right direction.
I hear you. Yeah. And you guys have a hot offering. Look, we work with a lot of companies that are in the Series C venture round. I saw your B round of financing. You know, the marketplace is still big and it's sort of the world is your oyster. What we see is when you get towards Series C and later on, that's when all of a sudden some of these challenges emerge. So really, here's what I would offer to you. I know your customer success team is about 40 people, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, great. And I would think of those, there's probably some folks that are a little bit more progressive within that group that they gravitate towards new ideas and new things to be able to test and measure.
It's probably a handful.
Here's what I would propose. I take commerce off the table because it's probably not the right time for a buying, selling conversation, but rather you're going to be getting bigger. Inevitably, you'll be in a situation where maybe it's going to be more challenging for you to communicate with customers. Would you be open to taking that handful and we can run an experiment with them? It would be very controlled under our guidance. Look, the last thing you need is a piece of technology handed to you. You need to have all of the enablement of that handled by someone else. So our expert teams will do that. And if you get a success, we'll talk down the road, commerce. And if not, no harm, no foul. What do you?
As I said, though, like our teams are super down. Are like they're up against the wall at the moment. They've got a lot of things going on. So how much of a time commitment are we talking about from my side for that?
For you, none.
Well, not for me. I mean, but I need to look after the team, though.
Of course. Yeah. Well, what we could do is we could put some guardrails on it. We can make it be a controlled week long, and we'd be looking at about an hour commitment over the course of a week. And at the end of that, we'll be able to either demonstrate the engagement increases or not.
Okay. What type of engagement increases should I be expecting?
Well, what you're looking at here is, you know, do you have some baseline data? I'm guessing you guys are using a customer success platform like a Churn Zero, Gainsight, or
Gainsight, yeah.
Gainsight, yep. And do you have some baseline numbers right now on expectations? You can really predictably expect these types of engagement numbers from your customers?
Engagement numbers. When you're talking about engagement, let's make sure we're on the same page here. You're talking about how often our customers are using our platform and how we're measuring that, correct?
That's correct. And the amount of features they're using, if they're using the new features, you're trying to get them to use those kinds of things.
Sure. So I would say we probably have a medium high level of engagement within our tier 1 customer base right now.
Very good. That's where we would isolate it, and we would focus just on that. And if we see a engagement, we're seeing a lot of your customers. I'll tell you, there's one that's very similar that we're seeing right now, Outreach, which is a little further along than your growth. And they've actually seen increases of 45, 50% and especially getting their customers to engage with new parts of the platform, new features that they weren't before. And as a result, they've actually seen their renewals, their churn rates have decreased, and their upsells have increased by about 17%. Now, it's not just this, it's other things, but that's the sort of actual meaningful, quantifiable thing. So what do you say? Do you have your calendar, your diary, and we can take a quick look, and if it works, then we have a reason to talk.
Do I really have a choice?
Very good.
Wow, that was a
good, tough
masterclass.
prospect. Nice.
Great job.
Nice.
Well, we have 5 minutes left in the round, and we appreciate you supporting Hype Cycle. Tomorrow on the GTM Games, we have Josh Braun. You may have heard of him. He's going to be teaching the marketers who aren't eliminated about cold email, B2B email. And that's at 10:30 a.m. Pacific every day, confusing the world by having one time signature. Hypecycle.com. Invite your friends and colleagues. Thank you to Outreach, SalesLoft, ConnectAndSell, PandaDoc, Chili Piper, leadiQ, Sales Feed, Chat Metrics, Syncari, Slintel, Outplay, Sapper Consulting, Vidyard, Lob, Wingman, Conversational Intelligence for Teams, and Seamless.AI. Really do appreciate all the support from the sponsors, some on this call today. And we have 4 minutes left. I know it's a grand finale. We've been building it up. Steve, it's time. You have to pick two. We can be data-driven. You can be arbitrary. I mean, this is... everybody's a winner on the Hype Cycle.
If I had a scorecard up, I would have been able to be data-driven, but I didn't. It kills me because everyone did much better than I was expecting. I thought this was going to be so easy. Don't hate me, but Tyler, I got to ask you, you're so good, but I'm sorry. You can rest well at night knowing that you have a cold calling job waiting for you anytime. Okay. So you're all set. So I apologize for that. And Dan, I got to go, Dan. Sorry, Dan. Your podcast angle is fantastic. Again, I would have taken that without question. I would have I just want to see you ask a few more questions about, like, what the benefit is for the company, those kinds of things. The two of you guys, again, are great, and everyone did such a good job. So when Justin makes me do it, I had to do it. Sorry.
And then I want to just take 3 minutes. So I want to thank everyone. This is just an arbitrary competition. This is not a chess match. This is not Queen's Gambit in St. Petersburg with everything on the line. I don't think that's a true story, actually. I would just say, Steve, who do you feel like was the strongest, and why?
I got to go back to probably Arthur in the beginning. The only reason why, well, first of all, it's going to be probably not recency bias? What's the opposite of recency bias?
I'm not sure.
Primacy bias, primacy bias, I think is what it's called. It's like the first thing. But I guess here's why. And actually, I'm going to compliment everybody who's not named Arthur. First touch attribution. Thank you, Robyn. Is because everyone after him heard the coaching and they actually incorporated it in. Did you hear that? So as it built and built and built, in some ways, if you went at the end, you had the benefit of having heard all the coaching along the way. And that's the only reason I'm picking him, is because he didn't, and he still did a hell of a good job. So again, very, very tough. I'm talking like A-A's across the board. Really, really, really good. Even the folks that were eliminated, without question, A-. I mean, like, you're really good marketers that can sell.
Yeah, let me ask you, I mean, when you were all coming to the call today, did you think you would see great selling coming from marketing? Who was surprised by how this went? Get someone to give a risky statement here.
I'm surprised by the result at the end. I'm surprised. I thought Tyler was super good, but and also Dan. But it was nice. It was I thought everybody did a great job, to be honest. I wasn't hugely surprised. Like, from my side, I think actually marketers are all pretty much sellers from, one way or another. Any marketer stood in a trade show floor is always sold, That's yeah.
I am gonna throw out one thing though. In the beginning, as we were prepping for this, there's a thing that marketers do that makes salespeople lose their freaking minds, and you all did it. So I'm not going to leave you on a high note. I'm going to leave you with a little tough love, which is make it sound like cold calling is somehow like, oh my God, why would you ever do that? That's crazy. Like, that's insane. And when marketers come out that way to sales, and when sales is like, look, I know you're giving me leads, but guess what? It sure feels like cold calling to me. So just don't be that marketer that stigmatizes cold calling. Like, be that marketer that embraces it and realizes, and look, I know it's a warm call or whatever, but ultimately, if you have that, like, you don't make that face when someone says cold calling, like, just don't do that. Instead, like, be like, cold calling, like, we respect it, love cold calling. It's part of what we do, even for the leads that we generate, and we know it.
May the odds be ever in your favor. We are now going off the live hype cycle, GTM games. I almost said Hunger Games. Steve Richard, thank you so much. Cast of thousands. And yeah, we're going to go off of the live, and thank you to all the sponsors. And marketers are becoming sellers. Sellers